Welcome back to another Free Agents podcast. Once again, it's Baz here. As always, got lifelong Wizards fan Riggy Hachimura in the house. And in the studio, I've got the Mauritian Jason Williams.
What's
White
up?
Chocolate, Chocolate City Thunder.
What's up?
Today in the episode, we're going to review the NBA playoffs so far. We're going to talk about the NBA draft lottery. We've got a spicy take. But first, Choc, as always, we've got the 24-second news. Let's go.
All right, cool. So playoffs begun this week. We had two surprise upsets. Lakers lost game 1 to Blazers and the Bucks lost game 1 to the Magic. Draft lottery took place this week. Top 3 picks are the Timberwolves, the Warriors, and the Hornets. Luka has a sprained left ankle, could miss game 4. Dame said that he could have missed game 3 with a dislocated index finger, but he's back today. And congratulations to Nick Nurse for being named the 2019-20 NBA Coach of the Year. Woo! And also congratulations to Baz for picking that one.
Yeah,
That's it, mate. 1-0.
1-0.
1-0.
Righto.
We're not going to talk about
He was robbed.
We're not going to talk about Riggs picks because Riggs already been roasted this week on Instagram, but we'll get to that later.
There needs to be an investigation.
It's got to be an investigation.
No investigation. All right. Let's calm down. So, NBA playoffs have started. Who's impressed you so far, teams and players?
Okay, I'm going to start with the guys who played very well in the regular season bubble and they've continued to leverage to the playoffs. That is the Toronto Raptors, who are up 2-0 against, I feel for them, the Brooklyn Nets without basically everyone. But in particular, my boy, let's get the name right, Rig, Fred Van Fleet. 25.3 points a game, 8.6 assists, and 8 threes in game 2. He's not carrying the Raptors, but he is an incredible spark for the Raptors so far. And I think that in a contract year, he's playing extremely well in the playoffs for the Raptors, and I think he is one of the key components for them moving forward. What I will ask you, Baz, will Toronto re-sign the man?
Mini Drake.
Drake's little brother.
Good, incredible.
He's about to get paid. But which team will pay him? Because he's going to get offered a contract by the Raptors.
Yeah.
But no doubt about it, he's going to get offered more money by the New York Knickerbockers.
They offer everyone.
Or
big
everybody.
money, but no one ever comes. They just offer the money. And then they always get the garbage third or fourth guy that they didn't really want and they overpay him. But you're right. There's someone who's going to want to pay the man to start. And he's been sitting behind and off the bench for the Raptors for 2 or 3 seasons now. He might want to start himself. But I think the Raptors need to pay him. And the reason is because they have an aging guard in Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
You need to pay him because Kyle Lowry is going to be moving on soon. And he is the key to your team moving forward.
Yeah. Toronto will offer him money. He'll get paid more elsewhere. It's in his best interest to take the money from Toronto, wait a year or 2, and then take over the role from Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry is going to... Yeah, he'll be moving on in the next couple of years. And he could even start at the 2 as well.
Yeah.
And I think it also hinges on how well the Raptors do. If the Raptors go to the finals and let's just say they win... secure the bag and move on. You got 2 titles. You don't need any more. You need the money now. But if they lose and he feels like there's something still there they can do with that roster, he might hang around for that.
Yeah. It will play a part in how well the Raptors perform in the playoffs. If they win again, it might change his thought process behind who he signs for.
Yeah.
He might like, I've won twice. I just want to get paid.
Championships aren't the key for me anymore. I
Yeah.
just need to get the money. Now, the second one I've got here is, while nursing an ankle injury, as Choc said, Luka Doncic.
Luka.
He is incredible so far in his early playoffs. He had 70 points over the first 2 games.
And let me tell you, Rig, he is now the only player to do that because the next best is the man, the myth, the legend, Kareem the Dream.
Like, you look at that and you go, you've just beaten out Kareem with the most points in the playoff debut and the most points in the first 2 games you've played in the playoffs.
And Baz mentioned it way earlier, but that's good company to have as well, Kareem the Dream.
Yeah, that's very impressive. And I think he had a triple-double last game. I know it wasn't his best game. He looked visibly frustrated. But he goes, wherever he goes, the Mavs go with him. And as far as he goes, the Mavs go that far.
Yeah. And he's got some good defensive players on him, a lot of rotation. Pat Bev hasn't played the last game. But he'll be guided by Pat Bev, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George at times.
Guys that are all NBA first team.
Yeah.
Like,
Considered the best people in the league.
100% the best defenders in the league. And so I think what he might need to do, and he obviously had that first game where he had 4 turnovers in the first 5 minutes, but I think what he's starting to figure out is he doesn't have to force the pass. If he slows it down a little bit, he can find the open man, and the open man's going to try and get a bucket.
Because he has to carry the Mavs. He's going to have to carry the Mavs.
Yeah, like I know people say it's a duo, but it's Luka and then
It's Luka Doncic featuring KP in the Mavericks.
Yeah, correct. That's his album. That's
the best way. That's the best way to put it. Mixtape sound like an album.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, guy that we trashed a little bit, more so I trashed a little bit. Donovan Mitchell for the Utah Jazz. 57 points in game one, even though I lost, still 57 points. Got to give credit to someone with that.
No scrub putts up 57.
That's 100%. And in the last two games, absolutely demolishing the Nuggets. I think at one point they were up 20 or 30 at least.
I thought it was close to 40.
Could be close to 40.
I think it was close to 40.
And he's also shooting 50% from three. That's incredible.
He's brought up the entire team's average. Over the last two games, they have been shooting up to 48% from beyond the arc.
You can't compete with that. Almost shooting 50% from three, and they're letting it fly as well. And not only that, it seems like he's back to not only his best, but he's also bringing the team with him.
Yeah.
Because they can't win riding off the back of Conley and Jingles. It has to be a Donovan Mitchell show.
It has to be the Donovan Mitchell show with Rudy Gobert, and then Mike Conley's going to have to step up as well.
Yeah.
If I'm the Nuggets, I can't be having them shoot 50% or 48% to be exact.
No, and with
I
this...
expect to win the series.
No
That's
way.
not going to happen.
Yeah. And then the final, and look, man, we've been getting absolutely roasted. People have been grinding my gears about this. We're finally going to mention the Boston Celtics. But Jason Tatum, he had 2 30-point games already so far this series, and he looks very comfortable in control against what is an undermanned, and I feel for them, 76ers side. But he seems like he's stepped into that star role. Like, this is my team. Come with me.
Yeah, because he was a bit scared last season. I think he was just a bit frightened of taking on the ownership and the onus of being the go-to guy and you're Mr. Boston Celtics from now on, probably for the next 10 years.
It's not really his personality, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
He's starting to feel like he's stepped into that sort of role.
Yeah, and he's been very impressive. He'll be an all-star. You know, if
Perennial
he doesn't get
all-star.
injured, he'll be an all-star, 8, 9, 10 times.
Yeah. And I think we've said this with most of these guys that we're talking about, but the Boston Celtics go as far as he sort of carries them because he's the leader of the group. He's their best talent, best player. Now, quick side note on this, Baz. He's been playing better since Hayward's been out of the lineup. Are the Boston Celtics better without Gordon Hayward?
I feel like the Celtics always play better without Hayward.
It seems
because
that
he
way.
never plays.
Well, yeah, that's it. And he's on a lot of money.
He's got to be on 20+ million for
Yeah.
sure.
When he came over from Utah, they paid him a lot of money to come across.
Yeah, that contract's coming to an end.
Do you trade him before the contract's up?
Well, yeah, if someone takes him.
If someone
that's
it.
takes him, I'll trade him.
But I think, I definitely believe Kemba is a sidekick to Tatum, and Brown's another sidekick to Tatum, and it's Tatum's team. So it's good to see him sort of grabbing it by the scruff of the neck and going, this is my series to win. And look, the 76ers aren't the same team as they could have been on paper, but it's still a big win. You've still got Embiid, Horford, and Harris. That's a big win to get through a series against the 76ers.
I feel for Philly, man.
Yeah.
I feel for Philly.
Well, here, a question to you. What happens at the end of this series if Philly go?
Someone gets traded.
They fired Brett Brown.
Yeah, but he's gone. He's already gone. I don't even care.
Tobias has to get traded out.
See, that's the thing. You've got a lot of pieces, and a lot of pieces on a lot of money.
That's it. If I've never watched the NBA before and I'm watching the 76ers play the Celtics, and you go, guess who gets paid the most? I ain't saying Tobias Harris.
Nah. God.
He's the highest paid 76 on that team.
He doesn't look like it, does
Are you
it?
serious?
Joel Embiid does everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, so if it's me, I'm trading Ben Simmons. I'm keeping Embiid because you just don't get big men like that in the league anymore.
No. He's probably the best. It's top. It'd be him and the Joker.
Yeah. I think there's 4 really good big men in the league right now. There's the Joker, there's Cat, there's AD, and then there's Joel Embiid. And AD really, he kind of plays a lot smaller than a big man.
I feel like he comes across as a power forward.
Yeah, he's not a traditional big man. But there's the 4 guys, and I would build my roster around them because they're a dime a dozen.
You don't find stuff like that. You don't get big man like that anymore.
And I know you hate to say it, but Houston Rockets have been playing extremely well in the playoffs so far, and it's all about their defense. Tell me why.
Mate, their defense has been great. Obviously, people like Houston Rockets defense. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
But their defense, game 1, their defense was on fire. They had that. It looked like a zone, but it was a man showing as a zone, and OKC struggled a lot. Shea Gildas struggled as well. Most of his shots, I think it's 48%, 50% of his field goals come from under the basket, layups, dunks.
Well, because what's happening is he's taking that first step, beating his man, and next thing you know, he's got 2 or 3 blokes in front of him. Yeah, and he's still young, so he's still trying to figure out how to find that open man in that sort of scenario. And I think the other issue with that is also most of the OKC players are ball dominant. They need the ball in their hand. You know, you got Schroeder, you got Gallinari, you got CP3 and Shea Gilgeous. They all need their ball in hand in order to score. So the problem is when you beat that first man, you got guys kind of standing there and watching, and you kick it out, and they're just wasting a lot of the shot clock doing a bit of ISO.
Yeah, because OKC don't really have the spot up shooters,
No,
which is what was happening in the first game. Obviously, they got the W today.
Mm.
You know, Harden fouled out first time all season.
Yeah,
But
but Westbrook's still not there either.
Coach Westbrook to you. Thank you very much.
Can someone get that man some merch? The man needs to start wearing some Houston Rockets
Rocking
gear on the
his
sideline.
Iron Maiden singlet.
It's not a fashion show. Put some gear on. But yeah, like the one thing I do want to note with this Rockets defense is they're still not giving Adams the ball. He's got a mouse in the house. He's got Daniel House on his back. Give the man the ball and let him try and go to the basket and score.
Yeah, but does Steven Adams have like that offensive arsenal to make something happen?
Well, like I don't expect him to be putting up 20 or 25 points a game, but I feel like there's so many times where they come off a screen and he's sitting inside. And there was a point today where he was sitting inside, had Eric Gordon on his back. CP3 is looking out to the right to the guards. Throw the man the ball, see what he can do. It's better to have a 6'11" guy with a 6'2" or 6'3" guy guarding him than to give it to a 6'4" versus 6'4" matchup. Give him the ball, let him do something.
Yeah, I think with the giving the ball, if he goes like 0-6, 0-7, then you mix it up.
Exactly. Then you can change to a more small ball lineup.
And what I want to see to Spicy take it. Well, I want to see Gallinari play the 5.
Yeah. I mean, it could work. He's definitely got the ability to rebound, and obviously the Rockets have no one. And I think he would be the tallest player still on the court if they went small.
He's
ball.
6'10".
Yeah, so 6'10", he could easily be the biggest man on the court. You could leave Steven Adams off if he's struggling, and then bring in your man. And I'm going to let you say his name because you like him.
Lugens Dort. Put that thing in Dort mode.
My son is also named Dort.
Let's go, Lou Dort.
And he's played pretty well so far, strong defensively, and I think he's the only player on OKC's team that's a good cutter. He makes great cuts to the basket.
Because no one slashes.
No one slashes, and I think the other thing is Harden's going to get points, but what you don't want is your best players getting in foul trouble trying to guard Harden, so that's why someone like Dort is extremely valuable to OKC.
Yeah, and they picked him up on the cheap. Like he was in the G League for a while, and for I think it's OKC Blue.
Yeah, the Blue Thunder.
Yes,
Blue Thunder. Right. Played 20 games, and then he came up and he started for the Thunder. Then he actually signed I think it was a 4-year deal for $5 million.
Well, that's not
because they were that impressed. Van Gundy praised him. He was like, he's got all the attributes to be a defensive, all-team player moving forward in the future.
Like a young Roberson.
Yeah, but the Thunder's like, I feel like it's always been, now it's Dort, then it was Roberson, then it was Cephalosha.
There's always that kind of guy in your
roster. Yeah, there's always, they always have that shooting guard as a 3 and D.
Yeah. And
they can never make the 3.
Yeah, 3 and D, not hitting the 3.
They never make the 3. It's just defensive guy. But yeah, I remember when Cephalosha was playing, when they OKC matched up with the Clippers, they actually had Cephalosha guarding CP3 to mix it up. It's what you see in the playoffs. You see teams make those adjustments and to make it a series and progress when they shouldn't progress.
Yeah, but credit to Houston, obviously without Brody still on the court, they're playing really well and defending, which is important.
Yeah. So OKC are down, 2-1. Game 4's in the next 2-3 days. Do you think Westbrook will play?
Look, I would rest Westbrook one more game. If they tie the series up 2-2, you got to get him on the court. But I just think that they won a tight game today in overtime. Harden fouls out early in overtime. CP3 hit this absolutely ridiculous step back 3 that wouldn't go in for anyone but him. I'm not too concerned at this point. Give it one more game.
Yeah, I think he goes. Yeah, I think he plays game 5, 6 if it's tied up.
Because the last thing you want to do is bring him in and the quad contusion turns into a quad tear and then he's out for the playoffs.
Yeah. So NBA draft lottery happened on Friday morning in Australia, Thursday night in the US. Just quickly, so at 14 we have the Boston Celtics, who actually got the pick from Memphis. Surprisingly, the Boston Celtics have 3 picks in this draft.
3 picks in the first round.
1 14, I think the other 2 in the 20s.
Yeah, wrong draft to have them in, but yeah.
New Orleans at 13, Sacramento Kings at 12, San Antonio Spurs at 11, Phoenix Suns at 10, Washington Wizards at 9. Rick, how'd you feel about that?
I don't want to talk about them.
New York Knicks got the short stick again.
Getting trolled again.
I feel for him. Nah,
No,
I don't feel for him,
They
actually.
put themselves in this position.
7's got Detroit Pistons, 6 Atlanta Hawks, 5 Cleveland Cavaliers.
Cleveland, this is for you.
And who's done very well to get this spot. 4 is Chicago Bulls.
Yep.
3 Charlotte Hornets, 2 Golden State Warriors, and number 1 Minnesota Timberwolves. If you are the Timberwolves, who do you take with the number 1 draft pick?
Assuming you don't trade the pick, which would be perfect scenario, trade it for another star. I'm taking Anthony Edwards. I think he's a solid two-way player. He can score. He can defend. He's athletic as all hell. He's got quick hands. He knows how to be the best player on an average team. At Georgia, he was that guy, and he'll probably be one of the better players on what is a long, struggling team that Timberwolves are going to be. They're going to be a while away before they start winning big games.
19 points at Georgia, 19 points a game, and 5 rebounds a game.
Yeah, so he's a solid two-way player. My concern with him, though, is he's been known to sort of put up some tough shots that he didn't need to shoot, make some poor turnovers, sort of like he wants to do it all himself and sometimes he doesn't need to. But I think when you've got D'Lo and Cat, and with what's available in this draft, be it LaMelo, Wiseman, Obi Toppin, you need to go with a two-way player to accommodate that along those two.
Because Minnesota drafted Jarrett Culver last draft. And I'm pretty positive it'd be the 4th pick.
Yeah.
Choc, might, if you check that, please, that'd be perfect.
I will.
But, so you've got Anthony Edwards first, and you've already drafted a shooting guard last year.
Yeah.
You just signed D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell got a big contract. Sorry, he got traded there. And then your best player is Karl Anthony Towns. Then you got James Wiseman.
Yeah, like, I see where you're going. Like, do you want to get another guard when you already got Culver? But Culver could play the 3, and he hasn't shown me enough now at this early stage of his career that I'm like, I'm going to put all my eggs in his basket. Because I don't think LaMelo works there. You've already got a ball-dominant guard in D'Angelo Russell, and you've already got a big man in Cat, so you can't put Wiseman there. As the first pick, you need to take someone that's either a team need or best potential, and I think Anthony Edwards meets both those.
Yeah.
Culver went 6 last year.
6, sorry.
Yeah.
Still pretty high, though, top 6. So I think the team that's laughing or loving the spot they landed in, Charlotte Hornets at 3.
Yep.
They can take anybody.
Yeah, they get the best of the rest, essentially is how you put it. And I don't think they can go wrong. You look at this, as we spoke about, LaMelo, Anthony Edwards, or Wiseman. All of them would fit into the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, let's be honest, they need everything. But when your best player is Devontae Graham, I think that's right, Devontae Graham.
Yeah.
If he's there, and I hope he is, LaMelo Ball. Bring him down North Carolina. Bring it down, make it marketable. Give Jordan someone to actually like show off. Let him go and get like 40 shots a game, possibly 20-something points a game, possibly 2. But you need something for the Charlotte Hornet fans to be excited about. I don't think Anthony Edwards or Wiseman brings that, but the ball does.
It's a bit of that superstar power if he goes down there.
Yeah, you need you need like a stud. You need someone that people want to come out and see, because the Charlotte Hornets have been irrelevant for
Since Steven Jackson took him to the playoffs.
Well, and you saw it like 2012, so 2011 draft. They missed out, unfortunately, even though they had the worst NBA record. They missed out on AD and ended up picking
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
And Jordan does not have goat of basketball, but does not have a great record of picking the right players. But you look at their roster, and there's so many holes and so many needs. Right now, you just take the best available player at 3 and survive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Jordan just likes drafting players that play for North Carolina.
So was he going to take Cole Anthony?
That's it.
But I look at that roster and I'm like, there's so many holes and so many pieces they need. That's the guy that you take best possible, and hopefully it's LaMelo. But the real winners of the draft are Golden State Warriors. Let's be honest. You've got Steph, you got Clay and Draymond, who have essentially had a rest year. Yes, 2 of them were injured, but they've had essentially a rest year. They've still got Wiggins and they've still got Pascal on the roster. And they got the 2nd overall pick. And what most people say is the better pick, because the decision gets made for you.
Yeah.
But I think if they don't trade it, they could also take LaMelo. LaMelo, Steph, Clay. Ooh. But yeah.
With Minnesota, we'll go back to Minnesota quickly. When that draft happens, it will look at Minnesota and go, do you take the best available player or do you take what you need?
Well, okay. Looking at the players in the draft board, you've got a point guard, a shooting guard, and a center. They don't need a center. They don't need a point guard. Yes, they got Jarrett Culver at the 2, possibly 3. You take the two in Anthony Edwards. I think he's a good two-way player. He can play on the ball and off the ball. You have to take him unless you package the deal.
Yeah, I can't see Minnesota trading.
No. Look, I don't think anyone will be willing to take it in such a weak draft because this draft is not so much about studs, but about depth and role players that will be coming out of it.
And players that will be in the league for a very long time.
Yeah, that's it. Guys are going 10 to 12 years, not wowing you, but are consistently going to be on a roster. I don't think it's going to be one of those drafts where you don't hear about the guys. They just fall off the planet after 2 years.
That's it. Speaking of drafts, we have a spicy take coming up.
Ooh.
As we all know, this time last year is the 2019 drafts. Zion, RJ were top 3. What would have Zion's rookie season look like if he had gone to Memphis and swapped with Ja Morant?
Okay, I don't think Memphis is where he fits. And I'm kind of glad Memphis didn't have the first pick because they would have taken Zion just because of the hype and the fact that, the Zion mania that came with him. But he doesn't fit on that roster. Brandon Clark, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr. They needed a guard. They don't need another power forward. He just doesn't fit what they're doing. I feel like they would be worse. They would have less wins than they do with Morant.
Yeah, it will be the same outcome. They don't make the playoffs. When I see them say same outcome, they don't make the playoffs.
But let's be honest, you take away the bubble and the pandemic, the Memphis Grizzlies would have made it. There wouldn't have been a 3 months for Nurkic to get back and Zach Collins to come back, who's also out for the rest of the season, by the way, with an ankle injury. But anyway, that's a side note. But if you take away the bubble, they were making the 8th seed. I don't think anyone was going to catch up.
They would have made the 8th seeds. So if Zion goes to Memphis, and then the Pelicans get Ja Morant, how does that unfold?
6th, 7th seed in the West. 48 wins. Wait, laughing.
48 wins.
48 wins.
As opposed to their current 30 wins.
Look at the roster.
13th.
The Pelicans get close to 50 wins.
Close to 50 wins. You got to remember, Zion plays 19 games.
No way.
Zion plays 19 games. Let's just say Morant plays, he plays 75. Morant, Holiday, JJ Redick, Brandon Ingram, Derek Favors. That's a solid team.
It's a solid team, but they ain't getting you 50 wins.
I don't know, man. Morant's been incredible.
Okay, but if Ja Morant gets drafted to the Pelicans, you think he starts?
I don't. Probably not in the first few games. Lonzo probably deserved the start if they go a guard. But Morant brings intensity, drive, hunger. He's flying for every loose ball. He's trying to dunk it on every bloke he sees. He is a leader. You look at Lonzo, and Lonzo's sort of like casually dribbling up the court, shooting three. He walks back like. He just doesn't have the swagger or the intensity that Morant has, and I think that would have shown out in either the summer league or in the early few games in the preseason, and would have kicked Lonzo to the curb if he had a few poor games.
Yeah, it would have been one of those factors where Lonzo doesn't play that well or he gets injured, and then Ja Morant steps up to the starting role, and I think he then makes it his role.
Yeah, and he doesn't relinquish it. I don't think he scores anywhere near as much as he did at Memphis, but I think the team does way better. I have them 6th or 7th seed. Laugh all you want.
6 or 7 seeds.
At me in the comments if you don't agree.
Yeah, all right. 6 or 7 seed Ja Morant with the Pelicans.
Okay, and the guy who came third.
RJ Barrett, my cousin from Canada.
RJ Barrett. Black Canadian cousin. You sure it's not Drake?
So RJ Barrett goes to the Knicks originally.
Yep.
How would it have unfolded if he went to Memphis?
I think he gets a lot more points per game, but he also gets a lot more shots up, and I think his efficiency is poor, and I think Memphis sort of stays where they are. Would have not gone forward in projected. They would have just stayed exactly where they were. They would have been back to the top 5 in the draft, and RJ Barrett would have had good points per game, but the team would have been like, eh. I just don't think he's built for what Memphis needed. Memphis needed a leader, and I don't think RJ Barrett is a leader. He's a scorer. That's the difference.
He landed in a good
spot.
Yeah, is it called a good spot when you go to the Knicks, though?
Well, the organization's trash. Dolan, sell the team. Sell the team, please.
Although with Tom Thibodeau going in next year, could be different.
Well, that's it. It could be very different. Defensive-minded coach, get better out of his players. But, let's say if RJ Barrett doesn't go there and Zion goes there, we got 9 power forwards on the roster. Doesn't work. If Ja Morant goes there, you got 9 point guards on the roster.
Yeah.
I think RJ Barrett went to the team that best fit him, and I think he is a big name player and a sort of a star that you can work around in the coming years. And I think being in a trash team is also hard to show how good he is because you're not getting those clutch games. You're not getting those games that matter. You're down by 20 points in every single night.
Yeah, all the time.
Hard to tell. But I think if he's on Memphis, they don't go anywhere. I think if he's on the Pelicans, though, he thrives better. He's with some veterans in Drew Holiday and JJ Redick. His shooting and his shot selection improves. And I think he's also eased in a lot better. So I think I would have liked to have seen him on the Pelicans, but this is obviously if the Pelicans didn't get first pick. Yeah. You don't pick him first still.
No way. It's always Zion's going first regardless. Even if you've watched the season just gone, you still pick Zion.
Correct.
But RJ Barrett at the Knicks, I want to see what happened with Luka at the Mavs at that time where Luka wasn't bringing up the ball.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, it's Alfred Payton at point guard.
Yeah,
and then when Dennis Smith Jr., DSG, and then Frank Nicolina, excuse me if I butchered the name, at point guard.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you got 3 guards who are handling the ball before him.
Yeah, I want to see RJ. And RJ's a better ball handler. He played point guard at Duke.
Yeah, if you clear out some of those guys and maybe give him the ball in hand, does he perform better?
I hope Tom Thibodeau just runs the offense through RJ.
Well, yeah, he's going to have to. It's either that or he runs it through Randall, and that's a very slow offense. He chews up most of the clock.
Yeah, but you've got young talent there. You can't be running it through Julius Randle. Julius Randle's a good player, in my opinion.
Good player, fringe NBA starter, not your franchise.
Yeah, not your franchise. Our whole offense should not be going for Julius Randle. Just give RJ the keys to the garden.
But I think he's in the right spot for that.
Yeah, he's in the right spot. He landed in the right spot for himself personally and for the situation of the team.
Looking back, I think everyone landed in the right spot for them, but I think Pelicans and Memphis would have liked to switch. Just looking at it. I mean, Zion's still early days, a lot of injuries, but Morant on the Pelicans, 6-7 seed, 48 wins.
I think Memphis don't take that swap, but Pelicans would take Ja Morant.
I agree. That's why 48 wins.
Okay. So we've actually been asked some questions from our friends at the Free Agent Podcast on Instagram.
So, yeah, we put up a poll the other day, and some people hit us up on our Instagram there. And if you guys just want to know, it's at the Free Agents Podcast on Instagram. So, first question here, boys, from user at Steve_Stanton. What is the biggest X factor for a round upset, and not just one game?
Rig, take it away.
Bench scoring. There's no doubt it's bench scoring. When your bench players can come on while your starters are getting a rest and keep or pick up momentum, I think it allows not only for your starters to get more rest, but it also will put the opposition on the back burner. Because what happens is if you, let's look at the Mavs, for example. Luka, KP, go to the bench. Seth Curry comes in. Trey Burke comes in. You can't afford for all the hard work that those 2 stars did against a stacked Clippers side to go to waste. So those 2 need to pick it up.
Just quietly, Trey Burke's been killing it.
Playing really well.
He's got that Michigan Timberwolves jersey underneath his
Mavs jersey. Got the Michigan. Well, that's it. And they picked him off the scrap heap.
Yeah.
Like Willie Cauley-Stein, not entering the bubble. They had a bit of cash and they went to and took...
They took the best available.
Yeah, correct.
Over need.
And he's played really well for them. And he's going to have to try and keep playing well to secure the bag for next season.
Yeah.
Because he was out the league.
That's right. And I agree with Rig on this one. Bench plays a huge role, and it's what you see in individual games as you've seen in previous finals before, playoff games, and what you most likely see this season in the playoffs as well. You have players that step up. Different players will step up in different games,
yeah,
and they'll give you that extra push. Like Klay Thompson that time in the Warriors against OKC, I'm pretty sure he didn't miss.
Like 8
I'm very going
8 or something.
Yeah, 8 for 8,
crazy.
Or 11. It was something like insane. And I've seen it in Serge Ibaka in OKC in the golden days.
Yeah.
Where he didn't miss a shot and he put up 24 points and went 10 from 10 from the field.
Yeah, well, and then that reminds me of the guy we spoke about when we started at the top of this podcast, Fred VanVleet at the Raptors.
Yeah.
The Raptors bench are playing incredibly well. Powell, Fred VanVleet. I think Ibaka is coming off the bench now. That is very solid for their championship moving forward. If you have solid bench play, you're going to go further than anyone else because you can't rely on your starters to be playing, 35, 40 minutes a game like the Lakers seem to be doing at the moment and trying to get yourself to the Eastern or Western Conference Finals. You can't afford that. You need bench play.
Yeah. And prime example back in 2012 when, Mario Chalmers got Rio for the Heat against OKC in the finals. He went off for 25 points when Chris Bosh wasn't performing.
Well, yeah, and you need those sort of add-ins, and you need those guys that burst of energy to come off the sixth man or the seventh man in to get you over the hump when your starters are out. And that's why, in my opinion, the Clippers were so good during the season is because you had, two 19 points per game players in Harrell and Lou Williams coming off the bench to give your starters a rest. Sorry, go on, mate.
The Clippers have a great bench, so the Lakers.
Yeah. The Lakers just aren't performing off their bench, but they have a solid bench.
Yeah. So that would be the big X factor in my opinion.
Before we move on, I do want to mention one of my favorite guys to come off the bench so far the last few days is a Boban.
You rang?
Sorry.
You rang?
Marjanovic.
I'm going to chuck up one of these for the people on the video, bro. I can't even put my elbows together. Shoot him the love heart.
Man's head's so big, he might break the headset. He's been huge for the Mavs when KP comes out with foul trouble or just comes out for a rest. I know the man's 7'4" or something absolutely ridiculous, but he's been getting some nice turnaround jumpers. He's getting some solid reboundings, and he's a mountain of a man. Montrezl Harrell's only 6'9".
Yeah, that's right.
It's hard to keep up with a guy like that, and when he gets a mismatch, you know it's over.
Yeah. So short answer to that one, Steve. Biggest X factor would have to come down to bench play.
All right, boys. Next one we got here from user at Dej10. Thoughts on the soft fouls in the playoffs, such as the tech fouls, and we'll go back to the Kristaps tech that got him ejected the other day.
Let the boys play.
Yeah, that's it. Well, this is 100% in reference to that KP call because that changes the game. KP stays on the floor. I think the Mavs win that game, which would have been huge. And he deserved the second tech, but he didn't deserve the first tech. You can't come in as the aggressor in that situation.
You're always going to get done.
Exactly.
Always.
Why did Morris not get done, bro? That's... I was watching the game. I was sitting there going, Morris just gets away with murder.
Because KP comes in as the aggressor, and then Morris sort of raises the hand towards the throat.
Yeah, it looked as if he was going to choke him.
Yeah.
And I thought that should have been a tech. But anyway, regardless, KP gets a tech, and he's ejected. The first tech, though, I would like to highlight. It looked all ball, maybe a bit of arm in the replay. And I know at full pace, NBA refs are making the calls. But it's the playoffs. The man's passionate. It's the bubble. They're not seeing their friends. They're not seeing their family. They don't get to go home to these sort of things. You've got to give them a little leeway in this. Like, I'm looking at it and going, Carmelo Anthony did the exact same thing the next game for Portland, pumping his fist and screaming at the refs after a call that was way more obvious than the KP one, and he gets away with it.
Yeah. I think they're just trying to control the game, though.
But is the tech the way to control the game? Why don't you just go, look, this is the foul, and explain it to the kid? He's only young. Does it really... Like, that tech changed the whole game out, the whole outlook there. On what should have been...
It was a huge impact, yeah.
Which should have been a block call. It was a clean block, in my opinion. But yeah, with all the pressures that are going on in the bubble, I just think they should be a little bit less trigger happy on the whistle.
How do you think the refs have performed so far?
I think poorly, but you have to note, like the players, they've also had a hiatus. They're off for 3 months as well. And I don't know, how do you practice refereeing? Just stand there and put your hand up and whistle? Like, you know what I mean? That's a hard thing to so they got to get back into the pace of the game, and only having 8 regular season games, and now they're calling playoff games with a lot of intensity. I just feel like sometimes they're trying to do too much.
Well, in the bubble, the fouls are actually up per player from 3.2 to 3.7 when compared to the regular season.
Which is not a huge jump, but solid enough that it's noticeable.
Yeah, it's massive when teams get into the bonus a lot sooner than what they should.
Yeah.
I think it was... Houston Rockets, they got into the bonus for like 9 minutes left.
Yeah, something like 9 minutes left in the quarter, and you're shooting, you get a chance for 2 points every time you get a foul. You get a foul 3/4 of the way out the court on an inbound, and next thing you know, the guy's shooting two shots to the line. Or you get a foul call on a 50-50 rebound, and the guy's shooting at the free throw line. So it's those sort of things that I'm like, that's where I think the refs are getting too trigger happy.
Yeah, with fans not being there, because usually I like to think fans have a big part, playing influence in the calls.
Huge impact. Like, you look at it, if you're playing in, let's say, TD Garden, you're playing in Utah, you're playing at the Staples Center, 9 times out of 10, that 50-50 block charge call is going with the home team.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. I agree.
You got some bloke yelling at the back of the ref like, you're a dog. He's going to make that call so he doesn't get abused by a bloke in the third fucking row. Simple as that. But yeah, so I think obviously you now take those fans away, and it's going to be a lot less, not so much a lot less pressure, but a lot less convincing factors to the referees.
Yeah, and those 50-50 calls, they most likely do go to the home team with that home advantage, and it plays a massive part in there. But, yeah.
All right, cool. So we move on there. So the last question that we got is from user at Townsend _.
Send it, Town. Town, send it.
Send it. So Boys, give me your off-season moves that are unlikely, but if they were to happen, would shake up the league.
Okay, well, look, I'm going to start. And I'm going to start with what seems unlikely, but also could very much be likely. If the Warriors keep the second pick and they take LaMelo Ball.
And take LeVar Ball as well.
And take LeVar with him. That's a team of Curry at the 1, LaMelo at the 2, Clay at the 3, Draymond at the 4. And ready for this, the second tier of the spiciness. You trade Wiggins and Pascal with a future first-round pick for Kevin Love. You bring the love to the Golden State. That's a good team.
I know Kevin Love wants out, but I don't think the Cavs are going to... Yeah, Wiggins, come back and
Come
play
back and
for
have
us.
another go. But Kevin Love wants out. They need a big man. There's not a lot of big men who want out of their situation. K-Love wants out. K-Love can shoot the 3. He's still got 2 or 3 years serviceable in him. The contracts seem to match. You'd have to chuck in another first. They've got the T-Wolves pick for next year, so they could chuck in the T-Wolves pick. So I'm just saying, it looks good on paper.
Why don't you trade Wiggins and Pascal for Al Horford?
Yeah, that's another player, and it helps out the 76ers and get rid of their trash. Because they've got
Trash.
they got too many guys, too many big men in the post. Horford has not played the same standard he had at the Celtics, and certainly not the same standard he had back in the Atlanta Hawks days. So yeah, that's not a bad idea. You get a veteran presence, either be K-Love or Horford, in the lineup, and LaMelo is going to be that guy, because obviously everyone's going to run to Clay, run to Curry at the line. You could hit that pass off to the side and hit LaMelo, and we know he can shoot and score. And he's 6'6". He's a big guy. He obviously is not very heavy, but 6'6" as a 2 guard is a solid player.
Yeah. I've got my spicy trade. The Timberwolves trade the first pick, maybe another pick as well, with Jarrett Culver, Evan Turner, and James Johnson. Think of cap space here. Got to make it realistic.
Yeah.
To the Phoenix Suns for Devin Booker.
Oh. Man's been on NBA trade machine trying to make this work. I see you. Minnesota
then have a triple threat of D'Lo, D'Angelo Russell, Devin Booker, and Karl Anthony Towns.
Well, you got to remember.
Now that's a 48-win team.
Now that's a 48-win team. That's a 5th or 6th seed in the West. But you look at that and you go, well, Devin Booker had a very good regular season bubble finish, and so did the Suns. So I don't see them making the trade. But I'm going to run with you on this. D-Book did play with Cat at Kentucky, I believe. And they've talked about pairing up together. Could make a young 3-headed monster. It's very spicy. There'd be absolutely zero depth on the team. But they're all sub-26-year-olds. That's a good team for a while.
Yeah.
Won't happen, but I like it. I'm going to stay on the Timberwolves bandwagon with you. Look at that seamless transition right there. Stay with the Timberwolves, and I'm going to say T-Wolves trade the first overall pick to the 76ers for Simmons, and they push D'Lo to the second spot. 76ers then take Anthony Edwards, giving them a two-way player, and run their team around Embiid, Melton, Harris, and see if you can move Horford for some depth or another point guard.
When you say Melton, do you mean Shake Milton?
Shake Milton, the shake and bake. But you need to move either Simmons or Embiid. This gets you a young, solid player in return, Anthony Edwards. You probably need to have another pick or 2 on top of that, because I think it's not worth it as a straight swap. But you get rid of the clogging of the paint issue. Maybe you try and move Horford for someone who could play maybe the point guard position, possibly a Chris Paul. Maybe put one of your picks on top of that. But on the flip side, Ben Simmons, D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns. Again, 3 young-headed monster.
Because they need scoring at guard.
Yeah, they need a guard that can score.
They haven't had a guard that can score since for
and
a
the guard
very
that can
long
shoot
time.
as well.
Yeah. Possible. Unlikely.
Unlikely, but possible. Spicy.
I've got another one. And it involves the 76ers again.
Oh.
They trade Al Horford and their highest paid player, Tobias Harris. And 2 future first round picks for Bradley Beal and Yao Mahinmi, cap purposes.
Firstly, I'd like to note Al Horford seems to be in all of these trades.
He needs to go. Like, he's getting in the way.
He's playing like garbage. Got to go.
Same with Tobias Harris. I don't think he's performing as...
This is the most realistic you've said yet. Bradley Beal needs to leave the Wizards.
He's going to go.
You can't move John Wall. That's $40 million a year.
No one wants that broken man.
No one's taking him.
No one's taking John Wall. And then the 76ers finally get scoring at the guard position, and the Wizards still get a chance to compete.
I like it. In fact, if I'm playing 2K, I'm triggering. That's the first thing I'm pulling. I'm pulling the trigger on that one.
And you got to offload Tobias Harris from shooting under 30% over the last 2 games of the playoffs. That's just disgraceful.
And I think it'd be almost something like $50 million worth of your cap.
Yeah, it's huge. It's
This is
huge.
big cash.
Yeah.
And Ian Mahinmi, I think, has only got one more year after this. So I think if the cap space works, 76ers don't need young players. They need established veterans that can score. I like it. Let's do it. Like, I'm going to call him up. I'm going to call up the 76ers and I'll call up the Wiz and be like, let's make this trade. Rick says, let's get it going.
76ers GM, if you're watching this, feel free to write a check to the Free Agents Podcast. Rig will take that as
That's it.
compensation.
Well, mate, I'm going to stay with the Wizards. Another seamless transition. Bradley Beal to the T-Wolves for first overall pick with filler players to make the cap space work and create that young big three in Minnesota. Cat, D'Lo, and Beal. Wizards get the pick, and they pick Anthony Edwards to replace the two-way guy they just lost.
I love how it's the one only pick. It's going to have to be like 2 or
It's going to have to be like 5. Give us every pick you got. But it gets the Wizards younger. It gets the Wizards at least some sort of future. They could possibly take Wiseman. They could have Rui Wiseman at the 4-5.
If they have the first pick, they're taking Anthony Edwards.
John Wall and a young Anthony Edwards.
Or the Melo Ball.
Or
John
the
Wall's
Melo
not
Ball.
playing. John Wall's not playing.
So you look at that and you go, they get younger, they get exciting. It's something a bit different in Washington, and there needs to be something different in Washington.
I feel like that trade's more likely than my Phoenix trade.
Yeah, I think your finish is not happening. Not anymore. Hey, 6 months ago? Possibly. But after the way Devin Booker and the Suns played in the bubble, I don't think they're letting go of the big man. They want to keep him in there. Last one. Give it to me. Feed me.
All right.
Feed me the spice.
I have the spiciest trade. The spiciest. Pending performance in the bubble. But
This is the Reaper Peppers of spice.
That's
trade.
it.
Carolina Reapers, all those millions. Let's go.
the Milwaukee Bucks trade Chris Middleton. Everyone probably knows I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Middleton.
No.
Trade Chris Middleton, Dante DiVincenzo, and a future first-round pick for Damian Lillard and Trevor Ariza.
Now, I know we've got some Milwaukee Bucks fans listening and watching this. You guys will enjoy this one.
Oh, that's spicy.
And
You weren't wrong. I'm feeling it already. Dame time in
Cream City.
Cream City.
Cream City.
It's good.
Wisconsin.
It's good. I like it.
And
Oh.
you persuade Giannis to stay.
It does, yeah. If you get Dame, Giannis is 100% staying. Milwaukee is already in Eastern Conference Final, possibly Finals, but now they are champions. Like, that is a great team. You still keep Brook Lopez. You still have Bledsoe. You've got some solid
George
young
Hill.
players off the bench.
Trevor Ariza fills in for Chris Middleton's spot.
Yeah, and you don't need him to score because Dame Lillard's going to be doing the scoring.
Exactly.
You got more consistency, someone to take the ball out of Giannis's hands. Oh, I like it.
Best believe I ran this through the trade machine and it works.
It works.
Someone's jumping on 2K right now
That's
to put
it.
this trade through.
I like it.
Can you see Damian Lillard leaving Portland?
I don't. I really don't. I think he's a one-team kind of guy. But I feel like if they lose, is he sick of sitting in mediocrity? Somewhere between a first-round exit or not making the playoffs.
So if let's say he does a Westbrook and goes, I want to leave, Portland would honor that.
Yeah. I think they're a good franchise like that. I think they would accept that and they would try and find the best situation for him because he wants to win.
And if Giannis goes, let's get Dame Lillard, they're going to have to trade Chris Middleton.
Yeah, there's no one else on the roster you trade other than him. It would have to have a couple firsts attached to it. But then, yeah, it looks good.
Looks great.
It looks great.
It looks
fantastic. The realities of it, see how we go.
If this happens on draft night,
Baz, 1-1, moves to 2-1.
that's it.
Takes the lead in the series.
All right. What's your game of the week?
Rig, you can go first this time.
Well, yeah, I'm still sitting on... It would have been OKC, but there's just been poor performers. I'm going to sit on that Mavs clips. I feel like the way Paul George is absolutely struggling. I think he's 0 for 18 in his last 18 shots. I think the Mavs can really push it, assuming Luka comes back healthy or at least can go on that ankle. I feel like the Mavs are really pushing the guys at the clips to see if they can go to maybe 7 games. So I'm looking forward to that.
I'm looking forward to the Jazz and the Nuggets, actually. So that series has been pretty interesting so far, and you see now the Jazz have just been putting up big numbers over the last couple of games. The Nuggets really need to bounce back tomorrow, so they're playing tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Australian time. They really need to bounce back in order to be able to really make that series, a contender.
Yeah,
So,
and will Gary Harris come back this week to help them out as well? He's been out the entire bubble.
yeah,
Can he come back and give them more guard rotation?
I think they're missing him.
Yeah.
Or will Donovan go up there and put up big numbers again like he always does?
Well, that's it. Is he going to carry them to glory? Oh, look, I think that one could go possibly 7 games. I didn't think it was the way the Jazz were playing, but mate, the Jazz have come together in the playoffs.
Because we originally had it as 5, but now it looks like it's going to go 7. So
Yeah.
look, plenty of basketball to play. Look, cheers, lads. Thanks again for joining us. We're coming to the tail end of the first round of the playoffs. It's heating up. Join us next week as we cover off the second round. Hopefully talk about OKC progressing through.
Yeah!
We'll see you next week.
Later.
Thanks, guys.